The last thing I heard before my heart stopped was my own voice praying, and I still went to hell. My name is Daniel Harris. I was 48 years old when I died on October 17th, 2022. I wasn't drunk, I wasn't high, I wasn't in a strip club, I wasn't robbing a bank. I was a captain in the United States military, a husband, a father, a church-going Christian. And when my heart stopped beating that morning in Norfolk, Virginia, I expected to see light. Instead, I fell. I need you to hear me carefully. I believed I was saved. I believed I was ready. But there were 3 sins hiding in my life. Sins most Christians excuse, defend, or ignore. And God showed me that they are sending countless believers straight to hell. If I had died 5 minutes later, I would not be here telling this story. I am not speaking as a preacher. I am speaking as a man who screamed in darkness. I grew up in Ohio in a small Baptist church. My mother sang in the choir. My father was a deacon. I was baptized at 12 years old and raised my hand during altar calls more times than I can count. I knew the language of Christianity. Praise God. Covered by the blood. Grace. Blessed. By 18, I enlisted in the military. Discipline shaped me. Structure defined me. I rose through the ranks steadily. I was respected, dependable, strong under pressure. By my late 40s, I had served over 2 decades. Captain Daniel Harris. That title meant everything to me. Leadership awards, combat deployments, men who trusted my voice in chaos. I was the kind of man people thought had it together. And honestly, so did I. Before I go further, I want to say something to you. If you're watching this channel, if you support testimonies like this, thank you. Because pride almost kept me silent. Men in uniform aren't supposed to talk about fear. We're not supposed to admit weakness. We're definitely not supposed to say we saw hell. But I remember the words I heard when I was sent back. Tell them the truth. So if you're listening, whether you believe me or not, I'm grateful you're here. Because eternity is not something you gamble with. And I gambled. On the outside, I was clean. I didn't cheat on my wife, I didn't party, I didn't curse excessively, I wasn't addicted to alcohol. Compared to other men, I looked righteous. But I had mastered one dangerous skill. Looking holy while hiding rot. I struggled with pornography for years. Quietly, privately, respectably. I told myself it was stress relief, deployment pressure. Every man deals with this. I justified it because I still prayed. I still went to church. I still led Bible studies occasionally for younger soldiers. But Jesus said in Matthew 5:28, "Whoever looks at a woman to lust after her has already committed adultery with her in his heart." I knew that verse. I ignored it. I also carried bitterness. In 2014, a superior officer humiliated me in front of my unit, tore me down publicly, questioned my leadership. I said I forgave him, but in private I replayed that moment like a movie. I fantasized about proving him wrong, about being promoted higher than him, about him seeing my success. That wasn't forgiveness. That was revenge aging slowly in my chest. And then there was pride. The worst one. I didn't say it out loud, but I believed I was better than most Christians. More disciplined, more stable, less messy. When I saw believers fall into visible sin, I judged them instantly. Weak, undisciplined, not serious about God. Meanwhile, my own heart was drifting. I stopped reading my Bible consistently. My prayers became mechanical. I depended more on my rank than on God. Revelation 3:16 says, "Because thou art lukewarm and neither cold nor hot, I will spew thee out of my mouth." I thought lukewarm meant backslidden sinners. I didn't realize it described me. And then October 17th came, and everything I thought I knew about salvation was tested in less than 60 seconds. October 17th, 2022. It was 6:42 a.m. I remember because I glanced at the digital clock on the dashboard of my truck. I was driving to base, clear sky, normal traffic, coffee in the cup holder. Rebecca had texted me 10 minutes earlier. "Love you. Don't skip lunch today." Ordinary. That's what makes it terrifying. I felt a strange pressure in my chest, not sharp, just heavy, like someone had placed a sandbag over my heart. I took a slow breath. "It's nothing," I muttered. Then my left arm went numb. Within seconds, the pressure exploded into pain, not emotional pain, crushing, like my chest was being compacted inward by invisible force. My vision blurred. The steering wheel slipped slightly in my hands. I remember thinking, no, not now. I pulled into a parking lot. I don't even remember steering. The world became muffled, like cotton stuffed into my ears. I reached for my phone, and then everything went black. But I didn't lose consciousness the way you imagine. I was still aware. I just wasn't in my body. There are no words strong enough for the feeling of leaving your body. It wasn't peaceful. It wasn't gentle. It felt like being ripped through something tight. I heard a sound not from outside, but inside my skull, like a violent rushing wind. I opened my eyes, and I was standing beside my truck. I could see paramedics pulling my body out of the driver's seat. My face was gray, my mouth slightly open, my eyes half-lidded. I watched a man, me, lying lifeless on the pavement. One of the paramedics shouted, "No pulse," another said, "Charging, clear." I heard the defibrillator snap. My body jerked, but I felt nothing. I tried to speak. "I'm here." No one reacted. Panic began rising in me, thick and suffocating. Then the air around me changed. The light dimmed. Not like a cloud passed over the sun, like something swallowed it. I felt it before I saw it, a pulling force behind me, strong, unavoidable. I turned. There was no ground anymore, no sky, no parking lot, just darkness, dense, heavy, alive. The pulling became violent. I tried to resist. I screamed, "Jesus!" But my voice sounded distant, swallowed. The darkness wasn't empty. It moved, like smoke with intention. I was dragged backward, fast, through what felt like a tunnel, but it wasn't smooth. It scraped against me like spiritual sandpaper. The temperature changed, cold at first, then suddenly hot. The smell hit me next, sulfur, burning, rotting flesh. It filled my lungs even though I wasn't breathing. And then I heard it, screaming. Not one voice, thousands. Agonized, hopeless. It wasn't dramatic movie screaming. It was desperate, like people who knew there was no escape. And the worst part? Some of the voices were praying. When the darkness cleared enough for me to see, I was standing on something that looked like cracked stone. Red light flickered from below, like the earth itself was glowing with fire underneath. The sky, if you could call it that, was black but moving, swirling with ash-like particles. I could hear chains dragging, metal scraping, weeping, and words, over and over. I was saved. I went to church. I didn't know. Please, another chance. My heart, or whatever was functioning as my awareness, pounded in terror. Figures moved in the distance, Human shapes, burned, disfigured, their eyes hollow with realization. They weren't being tortured by demons the way horror movies show. The torment was deeper. It was understanding, total awareness, regret without end. Since I saw a man fall to his knees screaming, "I sang in the choir." Another voice shouted, "I tithed." And suddenly something inside me shattered, because those were the same thoughts I would have used. I tried to pray again. "Lord, I believe in you. I've always believed." The words felt weak, empty. And then I heard something that froze me more than the fire, a whisper near my ear. "Believed, but did not obey." I turned sharply. There was no visible figure, but the presence was there, and then the ground beneath me cracked. I fell again, deeper. The second descent was worse. This wasn't the outer region. This was confinement. The screams became fewer, but heavier. Each one felt like it carried weight. The heat intensified until it felt like it was penetrating through me. I saw compartments, like sections divided by jagged stone. In one, figures were hunched over, reliving scenes from their lives, not watching passively, experiencing them over and over. I saw a man watching himself preach passionately on a stage. Then the scene shifted, him in a hotel room, sinning in secret. The loop restarted. Preach, sin, preach, sin. He screamed, "I didn't think it mattered." Another voice roared back at him, "You loved the applause more than the truth." Then I felt it, my own life replaying. Moments of lust, moments of pride, moments I ignored conviction, moments I judged others. And each memory burned, not physically, but spiritually. Every excuse I had ever made dissolved. I realized something horrifying. I had used grace as permission. Romans 6:1 echoed in my mind. "Shall we continue in sin, that grace may abound? God forbid." I had continued, quietly, respectably, confidently. And then I heard it, the three words that shook me. "Many like you. Not murderers, not witches, Christians, lukewarm, compromising, performing faith without surrender." I fell to my knees. "Please, I didn't reject you." And the response came, not loud but undeniable. "You honored me with your lips, but your heart was far from me." Matthew 15:8. I knew that verse, but here it wasn't text, it was verdict. The heat intensified, the darkness closed tighter, and I understood something I had never understood on earth. Hell is not separation from God's existence. It is separation from His mercy. And I knew, if mercy did not interrupt this moment, I was staying. Then everything changed. A light pierced the darkness, and for the first time since I left my body, the screaming paused. When the light appeared, it didn't explode like lightning. It pierced. A thin beam at first, pure, white, alive. The darkness recoiled from it, not dramatically, but deliberately, like something forced to move. The screaming around me lowered into a distant echo. The heat didn't disappear, but it lost its grip. And then I felt something I hadn't felt since leaving my body. Hope. The light widened. It wasn't blinding. It was revealing. Every shadow it touched lost authority. I fell forward, not because I was pushed, but because something inside me finally broke. I didn't shout this time. I whispered, "Jesus, please." The presence that came with the light wasn't chaotic. It wasn't theatrical. It was steady, holy, heavy with authority and mercy at the same time. I didn't see a detailed face the way artists paint, but I knew, the way a child knows their father's voice in a crowded room. And when he spoke, It wasn't through my ears. It was inside me. Daniel. My name felt different when he said it. Stripped of rank, stripped of pride, stripped of titles. Just Daniel. I couldn't lift my head. I thought I was ready, I said. And the response came gently but without compromise. You were convinced, not surrendered. Those words cut deeper than the fire. The light expanded further, and I saw something that shook me. Streams of people, not physically standing there, but impressions of souls, churchgoers, worship leaders, volunteers, men in suits, women with Bibles in their hands. And I heard this clearly. 3 sins are destroying many who call me Lord. Not unbelievers, believers. The first was revealed instantly. See one hidden sin without repentance. Scenes from my life flashed before me again. The pornography, the secret indulgences, the private compromises. You asked forgiveness, the voice said, but you did not forsake. Proverbs 28:13 burned in my awareness. He that covereth his sins shall not prosper, but whoso confesseth and forsaketh them shall have mercy. I had confessed, but I had not forsaken. I managed my sin instead of killing it. I minimized it because it wasn't public, and I heard many excuse what they hide. The torment I felt wasn't because I stumbled, it was because I justified remaining. Too pride disguised as strength. Suddenly I saw myself standing in uniform, confident, respected, admired. But behind me, a shadow shaped like my own outline towered larger than my body. Pride, not loud arrogance, subtle superiority. The belief that my discipline made me spiritually secure. You trusted your record more than my grace, the voice said. James 4:6 echoed, God resisteth the proud, but giveth grace unto the humble. Resisteth. That word terrified me. I wasn't openly rebelling, but I wasn't broken either. I had never fully surrendered control. I served God, but on my terms. 3 lukewarm devotion. This one hurt the most. I saw 2 versions of myself, one at church, hands lifted during worship, the other during the week, spiritually distant, distracted, indifferent. You divided your loyalty. Revelation 3:16 resounded again. Because thou art lukewarm, I will spew thee out of my mouth. I had always interpreted that verse as poetic. In hell, it felt literal. Lukewarm wasn't weakness, it was indifference. It was loving comfort more than holiness. It was wanting heaven without dying to self. And then I heard something that still shakes me when I sleep. Many who say, Lord, Lord, know my name, but not my lordship. Matthew 7:21 flooded my mind. Not everyone that saith unto me, Lord, Lord, shall enter into the kingdom of heaven. I broke completely, not because I was condemned, but because I finally saw myself clearly. I don't know how long I was there. Time didn't move normally. But then the voice said something that still makes me tremble. Your time is not finished. The light grew warmer, closer. You were shown this because you prayed for truth. I remembered something suddenly. 3 nights before the heart attack, I had prayed out of frustration. God, if there's anything in me that's fake, expose it. I didn't expect exposure to look like hell. You will return, the voice continued. Tell them I am merciful, but not mocked. Galatians 6:7 came alive. Be not deceived, God is not mocked. For whatsoever a man soweth, that shall he also reap. Then I felt something like acceleration. The light enveloped me completely. The heat vanished. The screams disappeared. And the last thing I heard before everything went white was, "Choose holiness while mercy is still offered." I gasped violently. Air slammed into my lungs like I had been underwater. Voices shouted around me, "We've got a rhythm! Stay with us!" My chest burned from defibrillation. I opened my eyes to fluorescent hospital lights. Tears streamed instantly, not from pain, from understanding. I grabbed the nurse's wrist and whispered, "I saw it." She thought I meant the heart attack. I didn't. I was not the same man who left that truck. Pride shattered first. Rank meant nothing to me anymore. I began confessing hidden sin honestly, not casually. I sought accountability. I removed access points that fed temptation, not slowly, radically. Jesus said in Matthew 5:30, "If thy right hand offend thee, cut it off." I used to think that was symbolic exaggeration. Now I understand the urgency. My marriage changed. I apologized to Rebecca for emotional distance she didn't even know how to name. I forgave the officer who humiliated me, not verbally, but truly. The bitterness dissolved when eternity became real. Church felt different too. Worship wasn't performance anymore. It was gratitude. Scripture wasn't routine. It was oxygen. Holiness stopped feeling restrictive. It felt protective. I no longer judge struggling believers. I warn them gently. Because I have heard the screams of men who thought they were fine. I am not here to scare you into religion. I am here to tell you hell is real. Not symbolic, not metaphorical, not exaggerated. And the most dangerous place to stand is halfway surrendered. If you hide sin, deal with it. If pride whispers that you're better, crush it. If your devotion is lukewarm, choose today who truly leads your life. Don't gamble with eternity. Mercy is available, but time is not guaranteed. I died as a captain, but I stood before God as just a man. Do you believe hell is real? Have you ever felt God confront something hidden in your life? Please share your thoughts below. I read them. I pray over them. Thank you for listening to my story. May God keep you awake, humble, and ready. Until next time, stay ready.